Today, multiplying rational expressions. Your learning target is I can multiply rational expressions. I can also use dimensional analysis with multiplication. You'll see what that is in a bit. Anyways, let's look at our very first one here. And as I'm looking at this one, I should notice that I should probably simplify a few of these, maybe GCF out of 4 there. So it'll be 4, and then it'll be x minus 2. And then over here, looks like if I took out an x out of both terms and had it as x minus 4 times, that x minus 4 is already set up nicely. And then that 3x minus 6 looks like I could take out a 3 and leaves it as x minus 2. Now on multiplication, you should realize, and I'm going to extend this out even though you probably don't have to do this every time, to help you have a better understanding that it is everything on top multiplied together and everything on the bottom multiplied together. Now if I have tops and bottoms with multiplication symbols in between each part, so times and times, then I may cancel tops and bottoms of the exact same. So for instance, this x minus 4 will cancel with the bottom x minus 4. This x minus 2 will cancel with the top x minus 2. Nothing else is identical, so then I can just clean it up by going 4 times these two that cancel. Remember, these are 1s. 4 times 1 times 1 is 4. And then I'll have x times 1 times 3 times 1, which is going to give me 3x. Alright, the next one, the first fraction, that one could be just rewritten as x minus 1 on top and x plus 4 on the bottom. And then this one I'm going to factor. And in factoring, it will be 2 parentheses. X for the first term, x times x is x squared. And then for this last term, I'm thinking negative 8 times positive 4 will give me a negative 32. But as I add them together, it gives me the minus 4x for the O and the I of FOIL. So let's put a minus 8 and a plus 4. And then for this one, again, 2 parentheses. X squared is going to be x and x for the first term. As far as the positive 1, I believe if you would multiply negative 1 times negative 1, you get the positive 1 and the minus 2 when I add them together. So minus 1 and minus 1. Now again, you don't really have to do this next step, but I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to put everything on top as one long multiplication. And then everything on the bottom as one long multiplication. And since there is multiplication in between each parentheses, I may cancel out tops and bottoms of identicals. So x minus 1 will cancel. X plus 4 will cancel. Leaves me with just the x minus 8. And x minus 1 on the bottom. Now you could have these in parentheses if you'd like to help you prevent canceling parts of it, but it's actually not necessary. We can leave it as x minus 8 on top and x minus 1 on the bottom. Keep in mind the x's do not cancel because of the fact that they are grouped. So there you go. Alright, next one here. Let's rewrite it as x plus 3 on top. And then let's GCF out of 4, and it leaves it as x minus 3. I'm going to put that x plus 3 in parentheses. Times, let's do a factoring, and it's going to be negative 3 times negative 1 to give me positive 3, and negative 4 when I add them together. So I have 2 parentheses, x's in both, a minus 3 and a minus 1. And on the bottom, 2 parentheses. X squared is going to give me the x and the x, and to get a minus 30 is going to be a minus 10 times positive 3 to give me minus 30 when I multiply, and a minus 7 when I add them. So minus 10 and a plus 3. Now instead of combining all of them, I know it's one long multiplication problem on top and on bottom. The x plus 3's will cancel. The x minus 3's will cancel, top and bottom. And it'll give me a final answer of x minus 1 on top and 4, and then I'm going to put parentheses x minus 10 on the bottom, like so. Alright, next one. It's going to be x plus 3, x minus 5, I'll put both of those in parentheses, times, taking out a 3x, I'd be left with an x minus 5. Taking out a 5, I'd be left with an x plus 3. And again, this is one long multiplication problem. Oops. Tops and bottoms can cancel. Maybe I'll just extend that so it looks like one long multiplication. You have an x plus 3 canceling, and you have an x minus 5 canceling. Final answer is the remaining part, 3x on top, 5 on the bottom. Alright, next one here. The x minus 4 I can put in parentheses and leave it on top. This one, double parentheses, and that's going to be 5 times negative 1. That'll give me negative 5 when I multiply and a positive 4 when I add the two. So it's going to be x plus 5 and x minus 1. This one is a perfect square separated by a minus sign. That just means I have an x in both of them, a 1 in both of them, and one of them will be a plus, the other will be a minus. And then factoring that one here, looks like an x in both of them. And to get a minus 4, it's going to be a negative 4 times 1. Multiplied is negative 4, added is negative 3. So a minus 4 and a positive 1. As far as canceling, x minus 4's will cancel, top and bottom. X plus 1's will cancel, top and bottom. X minus 1 will cancel, top and bottom. Now when everything cancels, remember there's always a 1 there, so we'll put 1 and then over x plus 5. Alright, and the last section is dimensional analysis. And basically what that is just saying is what you can do is you can do a conversion. And it's sort of like starting with 450 gallons per hour. How many is that per second? So what we know is there's 128 ounces in 1 gallon, and the gallons will cancel, top and bottom. We also know that 1 hour is 60 minutes, so that's like multiplying by the same thing, top and bottom, which is like multiplying by 1. And we'll notice that the hours will cancel. And then we also know that 1 minute is 60 seconds. That is the same top and bottom. That's like multiplying by 1, where we can get minutes to cancel. So at this point, we will be able to convert how many ounces per second, the remaining units. So in multiplying all the way across, you get 450 times 128 times 1 times 1, or 57,600. And on the bottom, you got 1 times 1 times 60 times 60 is 3,600. Now dividing that out, you get 16, and our labeling again is ounces per second. On the next one, we will multiply, we'll look at this, and again, this is like multiplying by 1, and this is like multiplying by 1 because 1 day is 24 hours, and this is like multiplying by 1 because 1 hour is 60 minutes. Same thing, top and bottom, just a different way of writing the same thing. So you have kilometers canceling out, you'll have day canceling out, and you will have hour canceling out, leaving us with meters per minute. With that said, multiply the top, 8 times 1,000 times 1 times 1, and you get 8,000. On the bottom, you have 1 times 1 times 24 times 60, and you get 1,400 and 40. Reduce that, and you get 5.5 repeating, and that is meters per minute. All right, there you go.